The moment the doctor pointed toward the exit, the entire clinic went silent. Every eye in the waiting room shifted toward the young black boy sitting quietly beside his mother, his small hands folded neatly in his lap, his uniform pressed, his shoes polished, his breathing uneven. His mother did not beg, she did not argue. She simply stood up slowly, her face calm, her eyes steady, and her dignity untouched. The doctor thought she had won. What no one in that room realized was that within hours, everything they believed about power, about status, and about that quiet black woman would collapse in the most devastating way possible. Before we begin, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Legacy, because these are the stories they never wanted told. The city of Arlington Heights had always prided itself on appearances: tree-lined streets, clean sidewalks, smiling neighbors, and systems that worked perfectly as long as you fit into them. For Monica Harris, systems had never worked perfectly. She had learned early in life that respect was not something freely given to women who looked like her. It was something she had to build, brick by brick, often while carrying the weight of doubt from people who had never spoken a word to her. Monica was a mother first. Everything else came second. Her son Elijah was only 6 years old, but he carried himself with a quiet maturity that made people look twice. He loved books, he loved numbers, he loved his mother. And Monica loved him with a fierce protective devotion forged from years of sacrifice. She remembered the nights she worked 3 jobs, the mornings she attended college classes half awake, the silent promises she made to herself that her son would never have to live within the limits that had once been placed on her. Years later, those promises had become reality. Monica Harris was no longer the exhausted young woman struggling to survive. She was now the CEO of one of the fastest-growing healthcare management companies in the region. Her company owned and operated multiple medical facilities across the state, facilities that promised care, facilities that promised dignity, facilities that promised fairness. But Monica never forgot where she came from, and she never assumed that titles alone could protect her from quiet judgments that live behind polite smiles. That morning, Elijah had woken up with a fever, his small body burned with heat, his energy gone. Monica did what any mother would do. She took him to the nearest clinic. It was one of the newer facilities in Arlington Heights, clean and modern, filled with bright walls and reassuring posters. She had never visited it before. To her, it was simply a place where her son could get help. She dressed professionally, as she always did. Navy blazer, white blouse, hair neatly styled. She carried herself with quiet confidence, not to impress anyone, but because it was who she had become. When she entered the waiting room, she noticed the looks. Quick, subtle, judging. She was used to those looks. She focused on Elijah. He leaned gently against her, trusting her completely. She signed the paperwork. She sat down. She waited. Minutes passed, then an hour, then longer. Other patients who had arrived after them were called first. Monica noticed. She said nothing. She had learned patience in a world that often required of her. But Elijah's breathing became heavier, his fever worsened, and still they waited. Eventually, a nurse approached them. Her smile was thin, professional but distant. She glanced at Monica's form, then at Elijah. Her expression shifted slightly. Something unspoken, something familiar. She instructed them to follow. They were led into an exam room. Cold, sterile, impersonal. They waited again. Time stretched. Elijah's small fingers gripped his mother's sleeve. Monica felt the heat of his fever through his clothes. She remained calm on the outside. Inside, her concern grew heavier with every passing minute. Finally, the doctor entered, Dr. Caroline Whitmore. She carried herself with authority, confidence, and something else, something colder. Her eyes scanned Monica briefly, then moved to Elijah. Her questions were quick, clinical, detached. She asked about insurance, about payment, about coverage. Her tone shifted when she heard the answers. Her posture stiffened, her patience thinned. Monica noticed. She had seen that shift before, in other places, other rooms, other moments where people silently decided who was worthy of care and who was not. Elijah coughed softly. The sound echoed in the room. Monica's heart tightened. She waited for compassion, for professionalism, for humanity. Instead, the doctor's demeanor hardened. Her eyes no longer saw a sick child. They saw something else, an assumption, a conclusion, a judgment. Outside, the waiting room had grown quiet. The tension inside the exam room spread like invisible smoke. Monica remained composed, but inside she was watching everything, every glance, every hesitation, every moment where care was replaced by calculation. And then it happened, the moment that would change everything. The doctor made her decision, not based on medicine, not based on need, but based on perception. The air grew heavy. The clinic staff moved quietly, unaware that history was unfolding within their walls. Monica did not argue, she did not plead. She simply gathered her son, held him close, and walked out. But her silence was not surrender. It was something far more dangerous. It was certainty. The clinic returned to its routine. The staff moved on. They forgot about the quiet woman and her son. They assumed she was just another patient, just another person with no power, no influence, no voice. Hours passed. Then the call came. It did not arrive with warning. It did not arrive with explanation. It arrived with authority, ownership, finality. The clinic director received the message first. His face drained of color. As he read it, his hands trembled. His mind struggled to process what he was seeing. Emergency executive review. Immediate compliance required. Full staff assembly. No exceptions. Confusion spread. Staff whispered, speculated, worried. They gathered in the main lobby. Dr. Whitmore stood among them, confident, unconcerned, certain that whatever was happening had nothing to do with her. Then the doors opened, and Monica Harris walked in. But she did not walk in as a patient. She walked in as something else entirely. Her presence filled the room, her posture unshaken, her expression calm. Behind her stood members of the corporate executive board, legal representatives, regional directors, people whose authority could not be questioned. The staff stared, confused, uncertain, afraid. Recognition spread slowly across Dr. Whitmore's face. Too late. Monica's eyes moved across the room, not with anger, but with clarity. She saw everything. She remembered everything. And in that moment, power shifted completely. The truth became unavoidable. The quiet woman they had dismissed owned the system they worked for. The mother they had disrespected was their CEO. The silence that filled the clinic was suffocating. Careers hung in the balance. Reputations collapsed. Certainty vanished, because now they understood. Their actions had consequences, and those consequences had arrived. The investigation was immediate, thorough, unforgiving. Records were reviewed, policies examined, witness accounts documented, patterns emerged, patterns that could no longer be ignored. It was not just one moment, it was not just one decision, it was a culture of assumptions, of unequal treatment, of quiet discrimination hidden behind professional titles. Monica did not act out revenge, she acted out of responsibility, because healthcare was not supposed to belong only to the privileged, it was supposed to belong to everyone, especially the vulnerable, especially children, especially those who trusted the system to protect them. By the end of the day, everything had changed. Leadership was replaced, staff were terminated, policies were rewritten, mandatory reforms were implemented. But the most important change was not procedural, it was human, because for the first time, everyone understood that dignity was not optional, it was required. Elijah recovered fully. His fever passed, his strength returned, but Monica never forgot that day, not because of the pain, but because of the lesson. She had spent her life building power, not so she could stand above others, but so she could stand between injustice and those who could not fight it alone. The clinic remained open, but it was no longer the same. It became something better, something fairer, something worthy of the trust people placed in it. And the staff who remained carried a permanent reminder that every patient mattered, that every person deserved care, that every assumption could destroy a life. And sometimes the quietest people carried the loudest truth, because dignity does not announce itself. It simply stands, unbreakable, unforgettable, unstoppable. If this story moved you, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Legacy, because these are the stories they never wanted told.